I trusted her with everything. My heart, my money, my future in Thailand. She had my passport in her hands and I thought it was love. I was 68 years old and I'd never been so wrong about anything in my life. But let me start from the beginning, because the beginning is where I should have seen the signs, where I should have known better, where a man my age should have had the wisdom to walk away. This story didn't come from a headline or some online forum. It came to us through a quiet email from a man who said he couldn't sleep until he finally wrote it down. He asked if it was too embarrassing to share, and I told him, "You'd be surprised how many men out here are living the same silence. You're not alone, and you don't need to carry the weight by yourself anymore." Stories like his, stories like ours, don't always get told at the bar or over a beer. Sometimes they get told like this, in pieces, in pain, in hindsight. If something in these words hits close to home, if you've ever handed your trust to the wrong person and felt the world shift underneath you, tell us in the comments. You don't have to explain everything. Just say, "Yeah, I've been there." That's enough. You'd be surprised how healing that can be for you and for someone else reading it at 2 a.m., feeling the same kind of shame. And if you believe in what we're doing here, giving space for real stories, real regret, and the kind of truth most people are too proud to admit, there's a little heart icon under the video where you can show support through super thanks. We don't ask for much, but it helps us keep these voices alive, especially for the folks who never thought they'd be heard. So here it is, the truth, from a man who thought he was too old to be fooled, and maybe you'll see a bit of your own story in his. Or maybe you'll catch a sign you missed the first time. Either way, he wanted it shared. And I'm sharing it with you now. I'm standing in the marble lobby of the Orchid Palace Hotel in Bangkok, exhausted from a 16-hour flight and feeling every one of my 68 years. My back is killing me, my knees are stiff, and I'm wondering what the hell I'm doing halfway across the world from everything I've ever known. Construction work had been good to me back in Ohio, 40 years of swinging hammers and laying foundations, but my body was done. The doctor had been clear about that. "You keep working like this, Warren, and you'll be in a wheelchair by 70. So I took the retirement package, sold the business to my foreman Jimmy, and decided Thailand was going to be my golden years. Cheap living, warm weather, and maybe some peace after Martha's death 2 years ago. The grief had been eating me alive back in Columbus. Every corner of our house reminded me of her. The kitchen where she'd make coffee every morning at 6 sharp, the garden where she'd spend hours talking to her tomato plants like they were old friends. The empty side of the bed that still smelled like her perfume even 2 years later. I tried dating a few times, went to church socials, even let my neighbor Linda set me up with her sister from Cincinnati. But nothing worked. Nothing felt right. I was just going through the motions of being alive while dying inside a little more each day. That's when I see her behind the front desk. Saran. 26 years old with this gentle smile that makes me forget I'm a tired old man with calloused hands and gray hair. She's not tall, maybe 5'3", with long black hair that catches the light when she moves her head. But it's her eyes that get me. Dark brown, almost black, and when she looks at me, really looks at me, I feel like she's seeing something worth looking at. She speaks perfect English, asks about my flight, remembers my name when I come down for breakfast the next morning. For the first time in years, I feel noticed, actually noticed, not just tolerated or pitied. "Mr. Warren," she says that first morning, and my name sounds different in her voice. Musical almost. "You look tired? Long day exploring?" I tell her about wandering around Chatuchak Market, getting lost in the maze of stalls selling everything from fake designer bags to live chickens. How the heat and noise overwhelmed me. How I felt like every vendor was trying to cheat the stupid farang. She laughs, not at me, but with me, and offers to show me the real Bangkok on her day off. No charge, just friendly. "Most tourists, they only see surface," she explains, writing something on hotel paper. "Real Bangkok is hidden. You need local person to show you. Her handwriting is careful, deliberate, each letter formed with precision. She draws a little map with landmarks, explains which BTS stop to get off at, warns me about the tuk-tuk drivers who'll try to overcharge. You go tomorrow night. Tell them Saran send you. They give you good price. When I ask if she wants to come with me, she smiles and shakes her head. I working tomorrow, but maybe next time. Maybe next time. Those words hit me harder than they should. It's been so long since anyone suggested there might be a next time for anything in my life. Back in Ohio, every conversation felt like an ending. Here, this beautiful young woman is talking about maybe spending time with me again. The restaurant is perfect. Hidden in an alley I never would have found, down a narrow swath that barely fits two people walking side by side. The building looks like it might fall down, corrugated metal roof and plastic chairs, but it's packed with locals eating from metal bowls and laughing loud. The owner, an old woman with gold teeth and arms like tree trunks, grins when I mention Saran's name. "Ah, you know our little princess?" she says in broken English, immediately bringing me a beer without asking. "She good girl, you lucky man." Lucky man, I haven't felt lucky in years. The food is incredible, spicy enough to make me sweat, but in a good way. Pad thai that actually tastes like something, not the sweet garbage they serve in American strip malls. Green curry that burns going down but leaves me wanting more. And the price, Christ, the whole meal costs less than a McDonald's combo back home. When I get back to the hotel, Saran is still at the front desk. It's almost 11 at night, but she lights up when she sees me. "How was dinner? You find okay?" I tell her it was the best meal I've had since arriving in Thailand. Maybe the best meal I've had in years. She claps her hands together like a child getting a present. "I so happy. Kun Malay, she like mother to me. She take care of everyone in neighborhood." We talk for almost an hour. About the restaurant, about Bangkok, about how different everything is from America. She asks about my work, about Ohio, about why I came to Thailand alone. When I mention Martha, her face softens with genuine sympathy. "I'm sorry for your loss," she says. And the way she says it makes me believe she actually means it. Not the automatic response people give when they don't know what else to say, but real understanding. Losing someone you love, she continues, it like losing part of yourself. But maybe coming here, maybe you find new part of yourself. New part of myself. The idea had never occurred to me. I came to Thailand to escape the old Warren, the one who couldn't save his wife from cancer, who couldn't fill the empty house with anything but memories. But maybe this young woman is right. Maybe I can become someone new here. 3 weeks later, I'm still at the hotel. I've extended my stay twice, and every conversation with Saran feels like a gift. She works different shifts, but somehow we always seem to find time to talk. She takes me to street food stalls her grandmother used to visit, places where the vendors know her by name and treat her like family. She teaches me basic Thai phrases, laughing gently when I butcher the tones but never making me feel stupid. She listens to my stories about building houses in Columbus for 40 years, about the subdivision I helped develop on the south side, about the satisfaction of seeing families move into homes I'd helped create. "You have strong hands," she says one evening, touching my palm during dinner at a riverside restaurant. We're sitting on plastic stools at a table that wobbles every time someone walks by, but the view of the Chao Phraya River is gorgeous. Long tailboats cutting through the brown water, their engines putting out clouds of diesel smoke that somehow doesn't smell bad in the warm night air. You built homes for families. That's beautiful work. No one ever called construction work beautiful before, not even Martha, who always saw it as just a job, a way to pay the bills and put food on the table. But the way Saran says it, with real admiration in her voice, makes me remember why I loved the work when I was young. The satisfaction of taking raw materials and turning them into something solid, something that would last long after I was gone. When I mention maybe finding a condo to rent for a few months, Saran's eyes light up like I've just offered her $1 million. I know perfect place. My cousin has apartment. Very safe area. Good for farang. I can help you with paperwork. That night, she kisses me goodnight in the hotel elevator. Soft, gentle, like she actually cares. I'm thinking this might be more than friendship. Maybe I'm not too old for this after all. The kiss stays with me all night. I lie in the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'm reading too much into it. But the way she looked at me afterward, the way she touched my face and whispered, "Sweet dreams in Thai," it felt real. It felt like someone was seeing me as a man, not just a lonely old tourist with money to spend. For the first time since Martha died, I feel something other than emptiness in my chest. "You sleep okay?" she asked the next morning, and there's something in her voice that makes me think she was thinking about it too. "I have surprise for you today. My day off." She takes me to a temple I've never heard of, Wat Saket, away from the tourist crowds of the Grand Palace in Wat Pho. We climb 300 steps to the Golden Mount, stopping every 50 steps because my knees can't handle the climb like they used to. But she never complains, never makes me feel like I'm holding her back. We sit in the shade at the top, watching monks in orange robes sweep the courtyard below with long bamboo brooms. The city spreads out around us, a maze of concrete and green that seems to go on forever. "This where I come when I sad," she says, her voice quiet, very peaceful. "Make me remember what important." I tell her about Martha, about the empty house in Ohio, about waking up every morning with nothing to do and no one to do it with. She listens without trying to fix anything, just nods and sometimes touches my arm. "You not meant to be alone?" she says finally, and the certainty in her voice surprises me. "You have too much love inside, too much kindness. Someone need to take care of that. Too much love inside." I want to believe her, but I'm scared. Scared that I'm just another lonely old man fooling himself. Scared that she's being kind because it's her job, because the hotel trains their staff to make guests feel special. But when we're walking back down the mountain, she takes my hand. Not guiding me, not helping me navigate the uneven steps. Just holding it. And I think maybe, just maybe, this is real. The apartment viewing happens 3 days later. It's in a building called The Residence, about 20 minutes from downtown by BTS. 40 floors of glass and steel that looks like something out of a science fiction movie compared to the ranch houses I'm used to back home. The unit is on the 15th floor, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, with a kitchen that's bigger than some apartments I've seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows look out over the city, and there's a balcony where you can sit and watch the sun set over the chaos below. "What you think?" Saran asks, and I can hear the excitement in her voice. "Very good price for location. Owner is friend of my cousin, so maybe we get special deal. The rent is $800 a month, which seems like a fortune compared to what I was expecting, but it's still less than half what a place like this would cost in Columbus, and the building has everything. Swimming pool, fitness center, security guards who bow when you walk past. It's beautiful," I tell her, and it is. But more than that, it feels like a home, like a place where I could build a new life. "But it's so big. I don't need 2 bedrooms. She blushes and looks down at her hands. "Maybe," she says quietly, "maybe sometimes I stay over. If you want, if I want." Christ, I can't remember the last time someone asked what I wanted instead of just assuming I didn't matter. When I suggest she might want to stay over sometimes, she blushes and says she'd like that. "But my family, they very traditional," she explains, and for the first time I see uncertainty in her eyes. "If I stay with Farang man, they worry. Thai family, we very close. They want to make sure you good man, that you take care of me. Maybe you meet them first?" The idea terrifies me. Meeting the family feels serious, permanent, like I'm committing to something I don't fully understand. But the way she's looking at me, hopeful and scared at the same time, I can't say no. "I'd like to meet them," I hear myself saying. "If it's important to you, it's important to me." I meet her mother and younger brother at a family dinner the following Sunday. It's at a restaurant in Chinatown that looks like it hasn't changed since the 1950s. Round tables with lazy Susans, fluorescent lights that flicker occasionally, and the smell of garlic and soy sauce so thick you can taste it. Her mother is a small woman, maybe 50, with gray streaks in her hair and hands that never stop moving. Her brother looks exactly like a younger male version of Saran, with the same dark eyes and quick smile. They're polite but distant, until I mention I'm retired with a good pension. Suddenly, they're asking about my house in Ohio, my savings, whether I plan to stay in Thailand long term. The questions come fast, translated back and forth between Thai and English, and I realize this isn't just dinner. This is an interview. Mama says you seem like good man. Saran translates after what sounds like an intense conversation in rapid Thai. She wants to know if you take care of me. The question catches me off guard. Take care of her? I thought she was the one taking care of me, showing me around the city, helping me navigate a culture I don't understand. But looking at her mother's serious face, I realize they see something different. They see a young woman who needs security, stability, a future, and they see me as someone who might be able to provide that. Tell her I would never hurt Saran, I say, looking directly at her mother even though she doesn't speak English. Tell her I care about her very much. The translation seems to satisfy something, because her mother nods and actually smiles for the first time all evening. Her brother reaches across the table and shakes my hand, saying something in Thai that makes Saran laugh. He says, "Welcome to family," she translates, and the words hit me harder than I expected. Family. I haven't been part of a family since Martha died. Hell, even before that, it was just the two of us. No kids, no siblings, parents long dead. Just Warren and Martha against the world. Now here's this group of people I barely know, speaking a language I can't understand, and they're talking about family. That night, she moved some clothes into my apartment. Not everything, just a few outfits and some toiletries, but it feels monumental, like we're crossing some kind of line into something real. We're not married, but it feels like we're building something together. She cooks for me, real Thai food that makes the hotel restaurant taste like cardboard. She helps with my Thai lessons, patiently correcting my pronunciation and writing out phrases in both Thai and English. She makes me feel like I have a purpose again, like I'm not just killing time until I die. The domestic routine develops quickly. She works 3 days a week at the hotel, 12-hour shifts that leave her exhausted but somehow still cheerful. On her days off, we explore the city together. She shows me temples I never would have found, markets where she knows all the vendors by name, restaurants where the menu is only in Thai and you just point at what looks good. We take weekend trips to Ayutthaya and Hua Hin, staying in small guest houses where the owners treat us like honored guests because Saran speaks to them in rapid Thai and somehow always negotiates better prices. But then she mentions her brother needs money for university. Just a small loan, 5,000 baht. He very smart, she explains, showing me his report card with grades I can't read, but numbers that look impressive. But family have no money for books, for computer. University very expensive in Thailand, not like America where everyone can get loan. Of course I say yes. It's nothing, really, less than $200. The look of relief on her face is worth 10 times that. You so kind, she says, kissing my cheek in a way that makes my heart skip. My family, they struggle so much since Papa died. But you understand family duty. Family duty. The phrase sounds foreign but important, like something I should have learned years ago but somehow missed. In Ohio, family meant Christmas dinners and birthday cards, maybe helping someone move. Here, it seems to mean something deeper, something that requires sacrifice, commitment, putting other people's needs before your own. Her brother comes to thank me personally the next day. 22 years old, studying engineering at Chulalongkorn University, with dreams of working for a tech company in Bangkok someday. I never forget your kindness, he says in careful English, shaking my hand with both of his. You like father to me now. I study hard, make you proud. Father to me now. The words hit me harder than I expected. I never had kids with Martha. Always said we'd get around to it someday, after we got the business established, after we bought the house, after we saved enough money. Someday never came. Now here's this young man calling me father, and it feels like maybe I'm getting a second chance at something I thought I'd missed forever. Just focus on your studies, I tell him. That's all the thanks I need. But privately, I'm thinking about what it would be like to have a son, someone to be proud of, someone to leave something to when I'm gone. 6 months in, I'm happier than I've been in years. Saran and I have routines that feel like a real relationship. Morning coffee on the balcony, watching the city wake up 15 floors below. Evening walks through the neighborhood, stopping at the same noodle cart where the old man remembers how I like my tom yum. Weekend trips to temples and beaches, staying in small hotels where she negotiates prices in Thai while I stand around feeling useless but loved. She's talking about us getting married, maybe starting a small business together. I know about food, she says one evening as we're watching the sunset from our balcony. You know about building. We make good team, I think. Maybe small restaurant or guest house for farang, something we build together. The idea excites me more than it should. A restaurant where I could build the kitchen, design the dining room, create something lasting. With her handling the front of house, talking to customers, making them feel welcome the way she made me feel welcome. We could call it Warren and Saran's. I suggest, and she laughs. Too long. Maybe just home? Place where people feel like home? Home. The word means something different now than it did 6 months ago. Home isn't a house in Ohio filled with memories of a dead woman. Home is this apartment, this city, this life we're building together one day at a time. Then my tourist visa expires. I've been so caught up in playing house that I completely forgot about the paperwork, the legal requirements of living in a foreign country. When the stamp in my passport shows I should have left 2 weeks ago, I start to panic. Don't worry, she says, taking my passport from my hands like it's the most natural thing in the world. I know immigration lawyer, very good, very honest. He fix everything for you. Are you sure? I ask, because the passport feels important, like something I shouldn't just hand over to someone I barely know, but then I remember that I don't barely know her anymore. We've been living together for months. She's met my neighbor from Ohio on Skype, helped me send Christmas presents to my nephew's kids. She's not someone I barely know. She's my girlfriend, maybe my future wife. How long will it take? 1 month? Maybe 2, she says, putting my passport in her purse like it's just another piece of paper. Depends on government office. They very slow, very bureaucratic. But this normal process happened to every farang who want to stay long time. She says it with such confidence, such certainty, that my panic subsides. Of course she knows what she's talking about. She works in a hotel. She deals with foreign tourists every day. She understands the system in ways I never could, but weeks pass. Every time I ask about the visa, she has an excuse. Lawyer very busy, need more time. Maybe need more money for express processing. I give her another 10,000 baht for fees, then 15,000 more for additional services. She always has reasons that sound reasonable when she explains them. Government fees that changed without notice. Translation costs for documents that need to be certified. Lawyers' additional services for expedited processing. In Thailand, everything take time, she says when I start getting anxious about the delay. Government office very slow. You must be patient. I handle everything. But I'm starting to notice things that don't add up. She's gone more often, always with vague explanations about work or family obligations. Her phone rings constantly, and she steps outside to answer, speaking in rapid Thai that sounds urgent, secretive. When I suggest we go to the immigration office together, just to check on the status, she gets upset in a way I've never seen before. You don't trust me? After everything I do for you? The hurt in her voice makes me feel like a monster. Of course I trust her. She's given me everything. Purpose, companionship, a reason to wake up in the morning. How can I doubt someone who's made my life worth living again? I'm sorry, I say, pulling her close until her body relaxes against mine. I'm just worried. I've never been illegal anywhere before. In America, if you don't have papers, they send you to jail. She looks up at me with those dark eyes, and I can see the tears forming. I know, my love, but this normal process happened to Farang all the time. You must trust me. I never let anything bad happen to you. My love. She's never called me that before, at least not in English. The words make everything else fade away. The anxiety about the passport, the confusion about the delays, the nagging feeling that something isn't quite right. When someone calls you my love, and means it, when someone promises never to let anything bad happen to you, you want to believe them. You need to believe them. It's been 2 months since she took my passport. 2 months of living in Thailand illegally, completely dependent on her promises and her connections. But the money requests keep coming, each one accompanied by tears and apologies, and swears that this is the last time. Her mother needs surgery for something serious, something that requires specialists and expensive procedures. Her brother's university fees increased unexpectedly, and he'll lose his spot if they don't pay immediately. The visa lawyer needs additional payments for special connections in the immigration office, people who can expedite the process for the right price. Each time, Saran cries a little, apologizes profusely, promises this is absolutely the last time she'll have to ask. I hate asking you, she whispers, holding my hand while tears run down her cheeks. But my family, if I don't help them, they suffer. Mama, she die without surgery. My brother, he lose everything he worked for. You understand family duty, yes? I understand. At least, I think I do. I've sent her almost $40,000 from my retirement savings, money I'd planned to live on for the next 10 years. But what's money compared to someone's life? What's a retirement account compared to a young man's future? In America, we have insurance, Social Security, safety nets. Here, family is the only safety net. And somehow, I've become part of that family. But I'm starting to feel trapped in ways I can't quite articulate. Without my passport, I can't travel anywhere, can't open a bank account, can't do anything that requires official identification. I'm completely dependent on her for everything from paying rent to buying groceries. When I mention this, she gets defensive in a way that surprises me. Why you want leave Thailand? You want leave me? The panic in her voice is real. I can see it in her eyes. The genuine terror at the thought of me leaving. No, I say quickly, because the last thing I want is to hurt her. But I need my passport back. It's not safe to be without it. What if something happens? What if there's an emergency? You think I steal from you? You think I lie? She's crying now, and I feel like a monster for doubting her. After everything I do, you suspect me? After I introduce you to my family? After I take care of you every day? The guilt hits me like a physical blow. How can I suspect someone who's given me so much? Someone who's made my life worth living again? So I apologize. I hold her while she cries. I promise I trust her completely. That I was just being paranoid. That I know she's handling everything perfectly. Because the alternative, admitting I might be wrong about her, is too terrifying to consider. What would I do if I was wrong? Where would I go? How would I live in this country without her? That night, she holds me tighter than usual, like she's afraid I might disappear. You are my everything, she whispers in the dark, her voice muffled against my chest. Without you, I have nothing. My family have nothing. Please don't leave me. Please don't stop trusting me. The desperation in her voice breaks my heart. How could I ever doubt someone who needs me this much? Someone who's built her entire life around me? I'm not going anywhere. I promise, stroking her hair in the darkness. We're in this together. Whatever problems come up, we'll handle them together. She falls asleep in my arms and I lie awake thinking about family duty, about being someone's everything. In Ohio, I was just Warren the construction worker, another face in the crowd at the grocery store. Here, I'm a provider, a protector, a man with purpose. Maybe losing some money is worth that feeling. But the doubts creep in during the long nights when she's working late shifts at the hotel. I find myself calculating how much money I've given her, how long it's been since I've seen my passport, how many times the story about the lawyer has changed in small ways. 3 weeks ago he was very busy. 2 weeks ago he was waiting for government approval. Last week he needed additional documentation. This week he's working on special connections. The details shift like sand, never quite the same twice. I try to push these thoughts away, but they're persistent. Like water finding cracks in a foundation, they seep into every quiet moment. When she's in the shower, when she's sleeping, when she's at work, and I'm alone in the apartment with nothing to do but think. I've built houses for 40 years. I know what happens when you ignore structural problems, when you paint over cracks instead of fixing them. Eventually, everything comes down. I'm alone in the apartment when her phone rings. She's in the shower, singing something in Thai that sounds cheerful and carefree. Without thinking, I answer it the way I've seen her do 100 times. "Hello, this is Saran phone." I say in broken Thai, proud of myself for remembering the phrase she taught me. "Where is Saran?" A man's voice asks in English, and something in his tone makes my stomach clench. Tell her Boom is calling. The name hits me like a punch. Boom. She's never mentioned anyone named Boom. In 6 months of living together, sharing meals and stories and plans for the future, she's never once mentioned this person who apparently has her phone number and expects her to be available. When she comes out of the bathroom, hair wet and wrapped in a towel, I mention the call as casually as I can manage. "Someone called for you," said his name was Boom. Her face goes white in a way that tells me everything I need to know. This isn't a work colleague or a distant relative. This is someone important, someone whose name makes her look like she's seen a ghost. "Who is Boom?" I ask, and my voice sounds calmer than I feel. "Nobody. Wrong number." But she's shaking and she won't look at me. Her hands are trembling as she reaches for her clothes, and I can see her mind racing, trying to figure out what to say. "Wrong number?" I repeat. "He knew your name. He was speaking English. Maybe old friend from school. I don't remember." But the lie is so obvious, so poorly constructed, that it insults both of us. I've been building things for 40 years. I know the difference between solid foundation and quicksand. This is quicksand. That night, I can't sleep. I lie next to her, listening to her breathe, thinking about that phone call and how scared she looked. The next day, while she's at work, I do something I've never done before. I search through her things. Not proudly, not happily, but like a man who needs to know if his house is built on solid ground or shifting sand. I find a second phone hidden in her purse, buried under receipts and makeup and the 1,000 small things women carry around. It's newer than her regular phone, more expensive, and when I turn it on, it's full of messages in Thai. I can't read most of them, but I recognize some words. "Darling, miss you. When can we meet?" There are photos, too. Saran with a young Thai man, kissing, holding hands, lying together on a beach I don't recognize. Recent photos, based on her haircut and the clothes I've seen her wear. My hands are shaking as I scroll through the messages, even without understanding most of them. The intimacy is obvious. The frequency of contact, the tone of the conversations, the way they talk to each other like people who've been together for years. This isn't a casual friendship or a distant relative. This is love. Real love. The kind of love I thought she had for me. I sit in our living room, holding both phones, trying to process what I'm seeing. 6 months of my life, $40,000 of my money, all my hopes for the future, built on a lie so complete I never even suspected it. When she comes home from work, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with both phones in front of me like evidence in a trial. "Who is he?" My voice is steady, but my hands are shaking. She tries to lie at first, the way people do when they're caught doing something they know is wrong. Says it's her cousin, her friend from work, someone she barely knows. But I've seen the photos. I know what love looks like, and I know what lies sound like. Finally, she breaks down. He's my boyfriend. We together for 3 years. But he have no money, no future. He's student, work part-time in 7-Eleven. I need take care of my family. The honesty is almost worse than the lies. At least the lies let me believe I was special, that what we had meant something. This makes me just another Mark, another lonely old man with a pension and a need to be needed. So you used me. The words come out flat, emotionless. I feel like I'm watching this conversation happen to someone else, like I'm floating above the room looking down at two strangers destroying each other with words. I like you, Warren. You are a good man, but I need money for my family. You understand, yes? 3 years, I repeat, and the number feels significant in ways I can't process. You've been with him for 3 years. She nods, tears streaming down her face, and I wonder if these tears are real or just another performance. We want to marry, but he's student. No money. My family, they starving without help. You help me take care of them. The logic is so simple, so clear, that I almost admire it. Of course she chose the man with money over the man without. Of course she did whatever was necessary to take care of her family. In her position, wouldn't I have done the same thing? But understanding something doesn't make it hurt less. It doesn't make me feel less stupid, less used, less completely fucking naive. How many men like me have there been? I ask because I need to know how deep this goes. She looks away, and that's answer enough. Answer me. You are first farang, she says quietly, but maybe not the last. The honesty is brutal. No attempt to soften it, no lies to make me feel better. Just the truth, delivered like a medical diagnosis. You have cancer. You are going to die. This is how long you have left. The worst part isn't the money or even the boyfriend. It's that I still don't have my passport. Where is it? I ask, and my voice sounds different now. Harder. Older. I need it back, now. She's crying again, but this time I don't comfort her. This time I just wait for an answer. I give to lawyer. He's still working on visa. But her voice lacks conviction, and we both know she's still lying. There is no lawyer, is there? She doesn't answer, which is answer enough. We sit in silence for a long time, and I realize that everything I thought I knew about my life here was wrong. The apartment, the relationship, the future we'd planned together. All of it built on lies so complete I never even questioned them. I demand she take me to wherever my passport is, but she refuses. Says it's complicated, says she needs time to get it back. But I'm done with her excuses. If you don't return my passport by tomorrow, I'm calling the American embassy. That scares her in a way nothing else has. You cannot. If they know you here illegal, they deport you. You lose everything. I already lost everything. The words surprise me with their truth. I have lost everything. Not just the money, though $40,000 is more than I can afford to lose. Not just the relationship, though 6 months of my life is gone forever. I've lost the story I was telling myself about who I was and what I was doing here. I've lost the future I thought we were building together. I've lost the man I thought I was becoming. She leaves that night, taking both phones and most of her clothes. I'm alone in the apartment in a foreign country, with no identification and no way to prove who I am. The silence is different from any silence I've ever experienced. Not peaceful like the silence of a country mourning, not comfortable like the silence of a long marriage. This is the silence of abandonment, of betrayal, of realizing you've been completely wrong about everything that mattered. I try calling the embassy, but without a passport number or proper ID, they can't help immediately. I need to file a police report, get temporary documents, start the whole process over. This happens more often than you'd think. The woman on the phone tells me, her voice professionally sympathetic. Do you have any other form of identification? Driver's license? Credit cards? Anything with your name and photo? 3 days later, She comes back, not to return my passport, but to collect the rest of her things. "I'm sorry," she says, but she won't look at me. "I never want to hurt you." The apology feels meaningless, like saying sorry for the weather. "Then give me my passport." "I cannot. Is lost." "Lost?" "Lawyer have it. He gone. I don't know where." I realize she's still lying even now. The passport isn't lost. She's either sold it or hidden it, and she's never going to return it. "You know what hurts the most?" I ask as she's packing. She stops but doesn't turn around. "It's not the money. It's not even the boyfriend. It's that you made me believe I mattered, that I was worth something more than my bank account." She turns then, and for a moment, I think I see real regret in her eyes. "You do matter, Warren. You good man." But good men, they not enough for survival. The words hit me like a diagnosis. Good men not enough for survival. In her world, kindness doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't buy medicine for sick mothers or tuition for university. I'm not a person to her. I'm a resource. A good resource, maybe even a resource she feels guilty about using, but still just a resource. It's the most honest thing she said to me in 6 months. She finishes packing in silence, and I watch her erase herself from my life one piece of clothing at a time. The dress I bought her in Chattachak Market. The perfume she said reminded her of jasmine flowers. The little Buddha statue we picked out together at a temple in Ayutthaya. All of it going into plastic bags like evidence being removed from a crime scene. "Will I ever see you again?" I ask as she's heading for the door. She pauses with her hand on the doorknob, and for a second she looks like the young woman who kissed me in the hotel elevator all those months ago. "Maybe," she says, but we both know it's not true. "Take care of yourself, Warren. You deserve to be happy." And then she's gone, taking with her the last 6 months of my life and any hope of getting my passport back through normal channels. It takes 3 weeks to get emergency travel documents from the American Embassy. 3 weeks of interviews, paperwork, and proving I am who I say I am without any official identification. The consular officer is a woman in her 40s, kind but direct, who's clearly handled cases like mine before. "This happens more often than you'd think," she tells me during my second visit. "Passport theft is a serious crime in Thailand. Have you filed a police report?" I hadn't, because I still held some hope that Saran would return it voluntarily. But now I understand she never intended to give it back. The passport was her insurance policy, her way of keeping me dependent and compliant. Without it, I couldn't leave Thailand, couldn't open bank accounts, couldn't do anything official. I was trapped, and she knew it. The police report is the most humiliating experience of my life. I have to sit in a concrete room with fluorescent lights that buzz and flicker, telling a uniformed officer who looks younger than Saran's brother how I gave $47,000 to a woman I barely knew, how I handed over my passport without getting a receipt or keeping records, how I believed every lie she told me because I wanted so desperately to be loved, to be needed, to matter to someone. "You are not first faring this happened to," the officer says not unkindly. His English is better than my Thai, and he seems genuinely sympathetic rather than judgmental. These women, they very smart. They study psychology, study what lonely men want to hear. They know exactly what to say, how to make you feel special. He shows me a file thick with similar reports. American men, European men, Australian men, all with the same story. All convinced they were different, special, that their love was real. "Is there any chance I'll get my money back?" I ask, though I already know the answer. He shakes his head. "Money probably gone already. Sent to family, used for expenses. But passport, that different crime. Much more serious. We will investigate, but..." He shrugs in a way that tells me not to hold my breath. When I finally get my emergency passport, I have a choice. I can fly back to Ohio, back to my empty house and cold winters and the life I was trying to escape. Or I can stay in Thailand and start over. For 3 days, I sit in the apartment that no longer feels like home, trying to decide who I want to be. The man who runs away from his mistakes, or the man who learns from them. I choose to stay. Not because I love Thailand, though I've come to appreciate its complexity in ways I never expected. Not because I'm afraid to face my friends back home, though the thought of explaining this disaster to Jimmy and the guys from the job site makes me cringe. I stay because running away won't fix what's broken inside me. I need to understand how I became so desperate for connection that I ignored every red flag, every warning sign, every instinct that told me something wasn't right. I find a small studio apartment in a different part of Bangkok, far from the hotel where I met Saran, far from the restaurants and temples and memories we created together. It's nothing like the luxury condo we shared. One room, a tiny kitchenette, a bathroom the size of a closet, but it's mine. I signed the lease myself, paid the deposit with my own money, understood every word of the contract because I hired a translator I found through the embassy. I enroll in proper Thai language classes at a school recommended by the consular officer, not the informal lessons Saran gave me, which I now realize were designed to keep me dependent rather than truly independent. Real classes with textbooks and homework and tests. It's humbling to sit in a classroom with 20-year-olds from Korea and Japan, stumbling over tones and grammar rules, but it's honest work. No one is lying to me about my progress or telling me what they think I want to hear. I volunteer at an animal shelter on the outskirts of the city, building kennels and dog houses with materials donated by local businesses. My construction skills are still useful, and the work gives me purpose without requiring me to trust anyone with my heart or my money. The dogs don't lie to me. They don't have secret boyfriends or hidden phones. They're grateful for a warm place to sleep and regular meals, and sometimes that simple honesty is exactly what I need. The work is hard in the Thai heat, harder than anything I did back in Ohio. But it's clean work, honest work. When I build a kennel, it's built right. When I fix a fence, it stays fixed. There's no deception, no hidden agenda, just wood and nails, and the satisfaction of creating something useful with my hands. The other volunteers are mostly young Europeans taking gap years, and they treat me with casual respect, not like a mark to be exploited, not like a lonely old man to be pitied. Just like Warren the carpenter who knows how to build things. 6 months after getting my passport back, I'm living a different life. I wake up at 5:30 before the heat becomes unbearable. I drink coffee on my tiny balcony, watching the city wake up. I work at the shelter until early afternoon, then come home for a shower and a simple lunch. Evenings I spend reading or walking along the river or practicing Thai with language exchange partners I meet through official programs. I don't date. I don't trust easily, but I'm not bitter. Bitter would be another form of letting Saran control my emotions, and I'm done being controlled by anyone. What I feel instead is something like clarity. Like I'm seeing Thailand and myself and human nature more clearly than I ever have before. One evening, I'm building a new fence for the shelter when a middle-aged Thai woman approaches me. She's been watching me work for the past week, and today she finally speaks. "You build good fence?" she says in careful English. Very strong. Her name is Koulap, and she's been volunteering at the shelter on weekends for 2 years. She's not beautiful like Saran. She's maybe 50, with gray streaks in her hair and laugh lines around her eyes. But her smile is real in a way I'm still learning to recognize. We talk for a few minutes about the shelter, about the dogs, about the fence I'm building. She's a widow, works as a seamstress in a factory that makes clothes for export. She has 2 grown children who live in other provinces and visit maybe 3 times a year. She volunteers here because she likes animals and needs something to do on weekends besides sit in her empty house and think about her dead husband. "You want help with fence tomorrow?" she asks as I'm packing up my tools. "Sure," I say, "but I can't pay you." She laughs, and the sound is so genuine it startles me. I not need money. I need something to do. Something useful. Something useful. I understand that feeling better than she knows. We work together the next day, and the day after that. She brings lunch from home, simple food wrapped in banana leaves. Som tam that makes my eyes water, sticky rice that she shows me how to eat with my hands, grilled fish that tastes like it came from a river instead of a market. She teaches me Thai words for construction tools, listens to my stories about building houses in Ohio, corrects my pronunciation without making me feel stupid. She doesn't ask about my pension or my savings. She doesn't cry about family problems or ask for loans. She doesn't even ask why I'm in Thailand or what happened to make me look, as she puts it, like man who lost something important. She just works beside me, steady and reliable, building things that will last. After a month of working together, she invites me to her home for dinner. It's a small house in an older part of the city, maybe 20 minutes by motorcycle taxi from my apartment. The house is modest but clean, with photos of her children on the walls and a small shrine to Buddha in the corner. We eat at a table in her kitchen while a fan pushes hot air around the room and geckos chirp on the walls. "You have been hurt," she says over somtam and grilled fish. It's not a question. "I can see in your eyes. Same look my husband have when his brother cheat him in business." I tell her about Saran, about the passport, about the money I lost. Not because I want sympathy, but because she's asking directly and deserves an honest answer. She listens without judgment, nodding occasionally, asking questions that show she's really paying attention. "Thai women who do this," she says finally, "they not represent all Thai women, just like American man who hurt Thai woman not represent all American men." The comparison surprises me. I've been thinking of myself as the victim, but of course there are Thai women who've been hurt by foreign men. Men who promise marriage and disappear, who use their economic advantage to exploit desperation, who see Thai women as commodities rather than people. "How do you know I won't hurt you?" I ask, because the question feels important. "I don't know," she says simply, "but I know you build good fence. You care for animals who cannot pay you. You work hard without asking for thanks. These things tell me about your character." Character. When was the last time someone judged me by my character instead of my bank account? We start spending more time together, but slowly, carefully, she shows me parts of Bangkok I never saw with Saran. Not the tourist temples and expensive restaurants, but the real city where real people live and work. Markets where she buys fabric for her sewing, temples where she goes to make merit for her dead husband, neighborhoods where she grew up before the city expanded and swallowed the rice fields. I help her with repairs around her house. Nothing major, just the kind of maintenance work that accumulates when you're living alone. Fixing a leaky faucet, replacing a broken window screen, building shelves for her sewing supplies. She insists on paying for materials, refuses to let me treat her like a charity case. "I can take care of myself," she says firmly. "I just need someone who knows how to use tools properly." 6 months after we met, I realize I've been sleeping better. Not because I'm in love, not because I've found someone to take care of me, but because I've found someone who expects nothing from me except honesty and competence. Koulap doesn't need me to be her everything. She has her own life, her own friends, her own routine. She includes me in parts of it when she wants company, but she doesn't depend on me for her happiness or her survival. This is what real connection feels like, I'm learning. Built on trust earned over time, not promises made in the heat of loneliness. Based on mutual respect rather than mutual need. We work together, eat together, share stories and comfortable silences. She's teaching me to cook Thai food properly, not the simplified version Saran made for my Western palate. I'm helping her daughter's husband with some carpentry work when he visits for holidays. 2 years have passed since Saran disappeared with my passport. I'm 70 now, and I understand things I didn't before. I was never in love with her. I was in love with the idea of being needed, of being important to someone young and beautiful. She saw that desperation and used it expertly, the way a skilled craftsman uses the right tool for the job. What I have with Koulap is different. Not desperate, not urgent, not built on the fear of being alone. We're two people who've both lost spouses, both learned to live alone, both discovered that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. We choose to spend time together because we enjoy each other's company, not because we're afraid of what happens if we don't. Last week, I saw Saran at a shopping mall in Siam. She was with a different Western man, maybe 50 years old, holding his arm and laughing at something he said. He looked at her the way I used to look at her. Completely enchanted, completely vulnerable, completely convinced that he was special. She saw me too. Our eyes met for a moment across the food court, and she looked away quickly. But not before I saw something I'd never seen before. Shame. I could have approached them, could have warned him about what he was getting into. Part of me wanted to, but I didn't. Everyone has to learn their own lessons, make their own mistakes. Maybe his story will be different. Maybe he's smarter than I was, more cautious, better at reading people. Or maybe he'll learn the same hard lesson I learned about the difference between being loved and being used. I'm not angry anymore. Anger was just another form of attachment, another way of letting her control my emotions long after she was gone. What I feel now is something like pity. For her, because she's still doing the same thing, still using people who care about her, for the man she's with, because he's about to learn something painful about human nature. For the person I used to be, who was so desperate for connection that he mistook manipulation for love. Thailand is still my home, but for different reasons now. Not because it's paradise, not because it's cheap, not because beautiful young women pay attention to old men with money. It's home because it's where I learned to stop running from myself. Where I learned that love isn't about being needed by someone desperate enough to lie. It's about building something real with someone who sees you clearly and chooses to stay anyway. My passport is in a safe deposit box now, along with copies of all my important documents. I know where it is every day. I can take it out whenever I want, look at it, hold it, remember that I have the freedom to leave this country anytime I choose. That simple fact, knowing I can leave whenever I want, has made me free to truly arrive. Koulap and I talked about marriage once, sitting on her front porch after dinner, watching her neighbor's children play in the street. "You think we too old for new beginning?" she asked. "I think we're the right age," I told her. "Old enough to know what we want, young enough to enjoy it." She laughed and took my hand. Not because she needed something from me, not because she was trying to convince me of anything, just because she wanted to. The difference between what I had with Saran and what I have with Koulap is the difference between need and want. Saran needed my money, needed my visa status, needed my Western passport to give her family a better life. I can't blame her for that need, even now. Desperation makes people do desperate things, and love is a luxury when you're worried about survival. But Koulap wants my company. She wants to share meals with me, wants to work beside me at the shelter, wants to show me the Bangkok she grew up in. She doesn't need me for anything essential. She has her own income, her own home, her own life. She includes me because she chooses to, and that choice is renewed every day. That's what love looks like when you're old enough to tell the difference. I still think about the money sometimes. $47,000 is more than I can afford to lose, especially on a fixed income. But I've stopped thinking of it as stolen money and started thinking of it as tuition. The most expensive education I've ever received, but also the most valuable. I learned things about myself, about human nature, about the difference between being lonely and being alone. I learned that desperate people do desperate things, and that includes desperate old men looking for love in foreign countries. I learned that kindness and naivety aren't the same thing, and that trust should be earned gradually rather than given freely. I learned that real love doesn't ask you to prove it with money, doesn't require you to hand over your independence as payment for affection. Most importantly, I learned that it's possible to start over at 68, not just geographically, moving to a new country, but emotionally. Learning new ways to connect with people, new ways to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than mutual need. Learning to be alone without being lonely, to be independent without being isolated. The animal shelter where I volunteer is expanding, building new facilities for dogs and cats rescued from the streets of Bangkok. I'm designing the new kennel complex, using everything I learned in 40 years of construction work. It's going to be beautiful, functional, built to last. When I'm gone, when I'm too old to swing a hammer or measure twice and cut once, it will still be there. Dogs will still have safe places to sleep because of work I did with these hands. That's legacy enough for me. That and the knowledge that I finally learned the difference between being used and being loved, between desperation and connection, between running away from loneliness and running towards something real. Thailand taught me those lessons the hard way, but they were lessons worth learning, even at the price I paid for them. As I write this, Koulap is in her kitchen making dinner. I can hear her humming something in Thai, can smell garlic and chilies heating in oil. In a few minutes she'll call me to eat, and we'll sit at her small table talking about our day. She'll tell me about the difficult customer at the factory, about her daughter's phone call from Chiang Mai, about the new puppy at the shelter who's finally healthy enough for adoption. I'll tell her about the progress on the new kennels, about the conversation I had with the shelter director about long-term planning, about the book I'm reading that explains Thai history in terms even a retired construction worker can understand. Simple conversations between two people who've learned to appreciate simple pleasures. This is what happiness looks like when you're 70 years old and finally smart enough to recognize it. Not dramatic, not passionate, not the stuff of romance novels or Hollywood movies. Just two people who've been hurt before, who've learned to be careful with their hearts, choosing to share their ordinary days with each other. And somewhere in Bangkok, Saran is probably having dinner with her new farang boyfriend, listening to his stories about his life back home, making him feel special and needed and loved. Maybe crying a little about her family's problems, about how much she wishes she could help them but doesn't have the money, maybe asking for a small loan, just temporarily, just until her next paycheck. I hope he's smarter than I was. I hope he asks more questions, demands more proof, keeps his passport in his own hands. But if he doesn't, if he learns the same hard lesson I learned, maybe it will be worth it in the end. Maybe he'll emerge from the wreckage with a better understanding of himself, a clearer sense of what real love looks like. Or maybe not. Maybe he'll just be another bitter old man warning other old men about Thai women who can't be trusted. That would be a shame, because the lesson isn't about Thai women or foreign women or women at all. The lesson is about desperation, about the lies we tell ourselves when we're afraid of being alone, about the price we pay for confusing need with love. I almost made that mistake. I almost became that bitter old man. But Thailand gave me a second chance, and I was smart enough finally to take it. Not the second chance I thought I wanted, not the fairy tale romance with a beautiful young woman, the second chance I actually needed. To learn to be alone without being lonely. To build relationships based on respect rather than need. To find peace in simplicity rather than drama in complexity. My passport is safe, my heart is healing, my hands still know how to build things that last. And somewhere in Bangkok, a woman who chose to trust a broken old man is making dinner and humming songs in a language I'm still learning to understand. That's enough. More than enough. It's everything.